want some more. Heartbeats racing, time to fight. Show them all our endless might. Fight to the top. Don't ever stop. Fight to the top. Give it all you got. Be the best that you can be. Dreams become reality. Clinch and grapple, push your way. Win the night and seize the day.
You know, we might as well just start it right here, folks. That was a good cue in with our theme song.
Yeah, it was a good song.
Fight to the top. You guys know where it is. We're episode 32 of the one and only
Welcome to the show. We have the owner, I guess co-owners, right? Of
Don't get it twisted.
Pinto Muay Thai, the #1 ranked gym in the country right now, the US Open. And you know, I just thought it was just fascinating that a gym that's so young has just kind of, you know, like as the song said, risen to the top so quickly. And we've been watching, you know, as a team, watching your team, every tournament's getting a little bigger. You guys and your entire team performed so well. And I was like, man, this warrants an interview. I kind of want to figure out, and I think a lot of teams out there that come to the US Open want to understand what's your secret sauce, right? Like you've been pretty much at the top 10 almost every time. And, you know, why is it that you know, always get there? And so, you know, welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, tell us about a little bit of, you know, how long you've had your gym and, you know, what made you, you know, get into, I guess, opening a gym. What, you know, incited that?
So opening up the gym was always the goal. Like for me, it came a little bit sooner than I thought it would. The goal was always when I was done fighting, when I was retired, to open up the gym. I think that's nobody wants to fight and be a coach all at the same time and do all of that. And it just happened to kind of work out right during COVID, actually. The original gym that I was at closed down, and I had Triumphant reach out to me, and they asked me if I wanted to be on their card in Mexico during COVID. And so I had no gym, so I just put a bunch of mats
Is that
in
technical
the garage.
difficulty on my end?
Yeah. Yeah.
He has a technical difficulty.
No, you guys are good. Continue.
Okay. And I opened up, just put a bunch of mats in my garage and got ready for, I think, 2 pro fights just in my garage. And I think that started to build up the community. And then that allowed us to kind of, when we did fully open, we opened up with already like a good community base, and it wasn't just
hit the ground running.
Yeah, we kind of hit the ground running from that. I think we had like maybe up to like 20 people in a 3-car garage just trying to spar and move around a little bit. And
actually, he's forgetting that the guys put a damn hole in our wall in the garage. It was a big hole in the wall, and the guys were like, they immediately like looked at me like, oh shit, I was pregnant, so obviously like little.
You had a BBL like stamp in the wall.
Yeah,
straight BBL,
like full ass cheek print, like this.
And so we're like, all right, I guess it's time. And then his friend does real estate, and he's like, hey, there's this, you know, spot that's near y'all's house. You know, maybe that works for you. And so we went and looked at it, and I was like, I hate this place. And I couldn't like envision it. It was a jiu-jitsu spot before.
Mhm.
It's only 1,200 square foot. It was really small, but it wasn't like crazy overhead. It was terrifying still for us, but it was like, okay, maybe we can do this. Like I started like, I'm the numbers person. So I'm like, okay, well, if we take this many people from the garage and we open here, like we could at least just like even, like that's okay. Like we don't have to like make money from this. We just want to be even. And so that's kind of how it started.
But it was
So
still,
actually
it was still
from
very
the
scary to like open it up. Like we weren't fully on board. He was like, just fill out the form. Worst thing they're gonna say is no. And we're like, yeah, that makes sense. I was like, let's just fill it out. And we filled it out. And then when they said yes, we were like, we don't have any fucking money.
like what do we do?
Like they said yes, but we're like, we don't like.
I hate that feeling. You go to the
It
store, you
all-
fill up the shopping cart, and you got no wallet. That's
Yeah, literally.
good.
And he was like, well, they said yes.
Be
And we're
back.
like, oh, sick.
That's
But,
wild.
Let's just be honest. Every entrepreneur, even if they think they have money, they don't have it when they started a business.
I
So
was pregnant and
sensible.
he was still doing security in the nightclub. So
Yeah.
we were both like,
Wow.
how is this gonna happen? And it did. It just did. And that's kind of like we were in the 1,200 square foot spot for, well, actually from the garage. I did want to say this. We had two of our fighters compete for the first time ever out of our garage. We got the business license and did Pinto Muay Thai LLC and all that.
Mhm.
And then we had Desiree Harmon and Hasib Wahab fight for you guys. That was our first ever like real fights like out of Pinto Muay Thai,
Yeah.
doing the US Open.
Yeah. So that was literally the first guys that came out of it went to go do your tournament. And that was the first time we ever did the tournament. So it was the first one coming back from COVID. Was the first one.
Oh, that was that tournament.
Yeah, and it was just
Wow.
fucking slammed. Like I was
It was
just like
packed. I
holy-
remember that. Everybody was just itching
dying to
fight.
fight. Yeah.
Yeah, and they were all in the parking garage because, like I said, I was still pregnant, so I was just getting pictures of. I was like, "What is happening? Why are you guys in a parking garage? Like, what is?" I completely just didn't understand the layout. I didn't understand like any of it. So it was really cool though. I mean, Des won her first belt there. Actually, that was her first ever fight. She just literally like jumped off the couch one day. She kind of watched the guys train for so many years, and then one day was just kind of like, I want to fight, and we're like, okay. And she's like, I mean, the US Open's coming up, so it's in 8 weeks, and so literally Danny got her ready in 8 weeks.
But-
Never fought, trained,
yeah.
done anything before.
Getting from
Wow.
0 to 8 weeks
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
then took the belt.
Yeah, she had 3 fights, I think, with you guys, and won all 3,
And then a couple weeks later, did the TBAs.
and then won that.
And
And
won
then,
the-
Incredible.
and then she was like, I think I'm gonna go to Thailand. And then she took off to Thailand and had like 3 fights out there, and then won all those, and then came back, and then I think she did USMTO again as B class, and then
Won that.
she won that, and then
Amazing.
she
What a
went back
year.
to Thailand
Wow.
and did a WMO tournament, Pro-Am
Pro-Am.
one, and then won that, and then she was like, I think I'm done fighting. I was like, okay.
We're like, no.
It's like kind of
Fucking
like Forrest
14
Gump
and
when he
0.
was done running. Like I'm done running now.
Yeah,
Like
that's funny.
I know
Oh,
what I
good.
imagine. I think I'm gonna go home. But that's an amazing story. I mean, that's a testament to your ability to train the fighters. One of the comments that was put up when I posed that question is, I think it was one of your students that was like, believe in your student, from the moment they walk in the door. And I feel like that's something that you definitely embody. Is like
100%,
when they walk in the door, that team of yours is a very strong team. It runs very smoothly. You can see the synergy between the athletes and the coaches. It's well organized. Now, and I'm gonna probably give Susie her props because Danny always he's like, yeah, I saw my wife, man. I gotta,
yeah, for sure.
Stuff.
Yeah, I
But,
definitely want to give her credit for
fight
sure.
stuff is that, organizing,
Yeah.
making sure your athletes are prepared, making sure your athletes have blood work and physicals. And, I saw, she got a little folder binder thing, like she's very well organized, and it makes the athletes' lives a lot easier to
So
have
much
that.
easier.
And can you tell us a little bit about your process of getting, from the beginning to the end? Like, what do you do to prepare the athletes, or even do you have a selection process? How does that work?
So we do kind of have like a selection process. Well, we usually do like
we call it like, it's almost like a testing. Like, so if, let's say you're new to our gym, we don't really know much about you, but you want to compete. Okay, well, this is where we start. We start with an inner club. So it's basically a match against your own teammate in the gym. We charge like a little $10 entry fee. And that money, that entry fee, it's a donation directly to the fight team. 100% of that goes to the fight team. And it's a sparring match against your own teammates. So I don't need commission. I don't need all this crazy crap there. They're up.
Right.
And it's almost semi-contact. We don't let them, it's a hard spar against one of your teammates. It's nothing too crazy. Nobody should be getting knocked out or dripping blood. But it's in front of a crowd. This allows us to, number one, build that chemistry with our coach fighter chemistry. It allows also our coaches and more experienced fighters to get time reffing and judging. There's not a winner declared at the end, but we do talk amongst ourselves about like, okay, well, this person can work on this. Like, it gives an idea of, first of all, are they coachable? Second of all, do they have heart? Those are the two main things. Like, people ask us like, well, what do you guys look for? We don't look for anything other than, are you coachable? Can you listen? And do you have heart? And I think that shows when our fighters fight. And to like toot anybody's horn, it's not a tooting of a horn, it's realistic. Like, that's what we expect from our fighters, is to have heart and be coachable. That's it. They go back to the corner, listen to your corner's advice, go out there and fight with heart and trust what your coaches are telling you. And that's that. Yeah. So that's how we start them, is with an inner club. Now, if their inner club goes well and we're like, hey man, this kid is pretty gifted or like looks really good, then we move on to a semi-contact bout, which will typically be down. We started with Robert Aldama down at the Technical Thai Boxing Series.
Very cool.
Yeah. And then from there, we're like, all right, cool. They got one little semi-contact bout in. Maybe they need a couple more, because we obviously have done these tournaments. We know what things look like at these tournaments. And we're like, I don't know how he's going to take, 100% punch or 100% kick. So maybe we need a couple more of these. And so we just kind of base their semi-contact bouts on how many they have, on what things look like in the tournament. So everything is kind of based around each other. It's built up.
Did you kind of, so obviously the first tournament that you guys had, it obviously wasn't, all thought out, right? You had two athletes.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no, it wasn't. It was like,
fuck it, let's go.
Yeah.
But as you grew, you obviously created this process. And my question is, did you actually like sit down and develop this, or did this like naturally evolve? Like, hey, let's do this, or was it kind of like very, thought out in a very pragmatic way, or was it naturally evolving?
It was trial and error. And then I think once we kind of started seeing that, like, that recipe, we made it like a standard. We're like, we sat down, me, Susie, and Coach Sean, and we're like, this is what we're doing. All three of us have to be on the same page, that we all agree that kid could be on this fight team, and that we think he meets all of our qualifications. And sometimes we won't all agree. Like, sometimes Susie will be like, I don't think he could do it. Or even Sean will be like, I don't think he can do it. And we'll sit there and we'll be like, well, why do you think he can't do it?
Right.
Like, well, I haven't seen this from him. I haven't seen this. And then like, I'll tell him like, I've actually seen that from him. And like, and we'll take each other's word for it. And then obviously when they compete, like, we'll figure out who was wrong and who wasn't. You're
right.
like, yeah,
Right. And you can do the light
right.
competition with Robert's show.
Yes.
And kind of understand what okay, you were actually right about that. He does actually do XYZ, and I see that he has plenty of heart and he does listen. Maybe he just doesn't listen to you, or
yeah.
Sometimes that happens.
Yeah, sometimes the case.
Even one of our kids that did this tournament in fight camp, I was like, man, I'm worried for him. I was like, oh shit.
She was like, no, I don't think. And I was like, no, I'm telling you, I was like, because I was like, I think he's there. He's good for it. Like, he hits hard. Like, it just doesn't look like it, And then
I ended up holding pads for him. And
Susie
I was
jumped in on the pad rotation, and she was like, oh, you're right. He fucking hits hard and good cardio, and he listens and he makes the changes. He just looks like he's not really trying, but it's there. And
What's
he did
interesting, I was gonna say what's interesting is you guys actually have a selection committee that
Yeah.
you developed just
Yeah.
naturally, which is really awesome. And not only a selection committee, but you're then deliberating after the fact, doing a post mortem almost feedback to, you know, confirm who on your committee was more correct about the selection as well. That is super awesome, guys.
Yeah. And we're all like, I mean, sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes I'm, you know, Susie and Sean were like the right ones. And I was like, oh man, damn it. You know,
me and Sean tend to be a little bit more on the same page than Danny. And that's not a bad thing. We just, Sean and I think a little more
That's
similarly.
actually the best thing.
I think
to
it's
have
great.
diversity in a committee.
Yes.
And you know, you're going to get different perspectives. And yeah, I mean, your team is definitely killing it. I mean, that's cool that it kind of, you know, slowly evolved with the trial and errors. It sounds like it was a little bit more organic. I actually, you know, am curious about how you, Danny, as a pro fighter, is able to manage training. And I mean, you have a sizable team. This is not, you know, 2 or 3 fighters. This is, you know, 20 plus. Anything past 20 is a soccer team. You're freaking training the whole dang team. And then on top of that, being a pro fighter. And I know you get this question a lot. You know, it is impressive. I did try myself to fight and go out to Thailand and fight and run a gym and it was near close to impossible to do by yourself. How do you manage all of that?
So when it comes to fights now, obviously I just turned 32. So I mean I'm still in my prime, but
You're in your prime, my friend.
I'm not in the phase where I'm just taking reckless any fight that comes my way. Obviously I have my fighters and everything. I take that responsibility strong. So if a fight does get offered and it is like a fight that I want and it's a good opportunity, I sit down with everybody all my A guys, my A class, B class fighters, and sit down with them and explain to them, like, this is the situation. They offered me a fight. If I take this fight, then none of you guys can kind of fight within the next like 2 months.
We don't like separating the team. So like, let's say somebody gets offered a fight in Sacramento and somebody gets offered a fight in Florida. Like, we don't send 2 separate teams out. We're very much like one
locked in,
unit, and that's how we move.
So I have a hypothetical. Being said what you guys just said.
Mm-hmm.
We have a pro Muay Thai show that's going to occur at the US Open, where I would love to have Danny compete on the pro show.
Yeah.
And also have his fighters compete in the tournament. Now, your team will be together. But how would you manage? I'm gonna challenge this kind of thing. If that's something that's a hard no.
It's not a hard
no.
No,
we're actually working on that.
It's definitely not a hard no. We've sat down as a group and because we figured this would be coming, obviously not from you, but just like in general eventually. And so we're in the process, maybe within the next couple of months, of like maybe bringing somebody out here to kind of help me put me through camp, and then I continue playing my role that I normally do.
Do we have the scoop on who that might be?
No, not yet. No, not yet. Not yet. Yeah, we're not too sure, so we don't want to drop any names yet.
Sure. I think that's. Go ahead.
For single fights, though, I did it for the last title fight that I did. They offered Fanny the WBC national title, and so obviously that wasn't something that I wanted even her to pass up. She was willing to pass it up. She was like, I don't want to do it because you're in the middle of camp. I won't take it. And I was like, did you just hear what you just said? I was like, no, bro. I was like, no. I was like, we're not passing that up. And she was like, no, I just don't want to intervene with. I was like, I'm telling you that we can do it.
Shit.
Oh.
I just lost them. I don't see.
Yeah, just the video feed for a second, but they'll.
Oh, there
There you are.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, oh shoot. I'm like very curious about this question.
And
So you are already in the process of looking for a coach.
Yes.
yes, yeah.
Awesome.
And so then when they offered Fanny that fight, I was like, we're not passing that up. And it was back and forth. We both kind of sat down. She was like, I don't want to, like, you're also fighting for a world title. I don't want it to conflict. And she's one of those fighters that I have to tell her to take a day off. So I'm okay with one of those fighters to jump on a camp with me, because I know that I don't have to baby her or baby him to, like, hey, are you fucking running? Are you doing what you're supposed to do? So she's definitely one of those fighters. And I was like, we could do this together. And
they literally did it 2 weeks apart. Fanny won the WBC National 108 title, and then 2 weeks later, Danny won a world title.
Nice.
So
it was a lot. It was a lot. It really was a lot
for sure.
Sure it was. I can't just the camp for one pro fighter is a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
And as far as him, like for his camps, like lots of strength conditioning. He has a boxing coach, and then between myself and one of the other guys, we hold pads for him. So he gets like daily pad work on top of that. So that's what his camps look like.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying, there's an opportunity that may come up your way, very soon. A wink. And I'd love to actually have the entire Tire Pinto team compete, including the head coach. How inspiring would that be for your team to watch you fight right before their title fights?
For sure.
They've said that. They've said it themselves. Like that would be so cool to fight on a card with Coach Danny.
I almost went for it for the spring tournament.
Yeah. There was one in the spring. One in the spring one.
I was like, absolutely hell to the no.
I was like, look, hear me out. I was like, if there's only one guy in my bracket, then that means I could corner everybody Friday and Saturday.
We had 12 fighters for that one.
And I was like, and then I can ask Thiago if he could make my fight the first fight Sunday. That way I can coach everybody afterwards.
He had a whole plan, and I shot him down like instantly. Like,
no,
absolutely not. We have a double weigh-in, and we have a team of 12, which was the biggest team we'd ever taken. And literally on the way home, even from that freaking tournament, I was like, all right, 12 is the max. 12 is cap, because that was insane. And they were like, both Sean and him agreed, yeah, 12 is the max. And then freaking 24 registered fighters later.
I think the bracketing committee would have convened about this, and they would have had a favorable outcome, I believe.
Yeah, for sure. So
I think it's possible. It sounds like you guys are pushing the limits of what you can accomplish.
Trying to, for sure.
Always.
I think I would love to see that. I think that would be probably a really cool story to cover.
Yeah.
How, a Team Pinto comes out, kicks ass at the US Open, then the head coach, handles business at Siam Fights Live.
At Siam Fights Stadium, nonetheless.
Hey.
Right.
They don't know. We're gonna drop that pretty soon.
Making ground on that.
It's pretty cool, and I mean, we're very excited to announce it. I mean, this is kind of a soft announcement. But yeah, we're doing a Pro-Am show on the weekend of the tournament. And I actually was trying to do like a lot of female pro fights as well, as the females don't get a lot of love in the sport.
Yeah.
But again, it's difficult in general to match females. But if we get the budget that I need, I will do something really, really different. Hopefully we try to do things that nobody's seen before. So
what it was before was amazing. Like we were huge fans of
yeah, for
your
sure.
promotion.
So many good fighters. The talent that you were able to bring in for I think for the time that you were doing it it's crazy when you look back at it now.
Yeah. Ryan or Brandon, do you have it? Ryan,
yeah, Susie. Yeah, I have a question. This is kind of more pointed at Susie. You seem to be very analytical with your management style, and I'm talking about the fight team in particular. In terms of the team structure, like what kind of organizational structure do you think serves an active fight team? You guys have a lot of moving parts. You have a pretty big team, I guess, compared to some other folks who might have 1 and 2. I know that's how you started. And how does a team size? The second part is, how does team size affect your plan going ahead of, and then how do you respond to it?
So for our prior tournaments, for me, it's about giving information to people in the easiest way possible, which is to a mass group of people, right? And how do you do that if I have 5 fighters that are doing the US Open, and I have one in the noon class and then one in the night class, and like there's all this spread of information, and I'm having to have all these separate different conversations. So number one was finding a way to give them the information that they need, especially because we're a new team. We're not talking about my A-class fighters. We're talking about the people that we've built from the ground up, and they don't know what it looks like to go weigh in. They don't know what is a medical, what is a blood trio, like where do I even go for those things? So educating them was important. So I did like a free fighters workshop at one point where I brought out a marketing guy, Jeff DeHulio. I brought him out to talk about marketing and the importance of it. And as a fighter, I brought in a nutritionist to talk about how do you fuel yourself properly for a fight camp, and then not necessarily cutting weight, but like, I guess just a more safe practice of it. And then we had Master Bob come out and talk about judging and scoring. So I think the most important thing is providing education to people, so that they're not, I put myself in the shoes of like being a mom, but also being a partner to somebody that fights, finding ways to support these fighters, and all the questions that you may have that come along with it. So that was number one. But number two, my role, really, my passion comes from wanting to take the stress off of my fighters' plates. So are you stressed about having to remember, first of all, go get your medicals done? Shit, I forgot. Okay, second of all, what do I do with this paper now that I have done it? Okay, well, you have to like keep that paper and remember that we have to turn it in when we go to weigh-ins. So I'm trying to relieve the things that stress these guys out. So that was kind of the thought process behind creating. What then I started with was our first big team that we took was our 3rd ever USMTO, which was like a little pamphlet. And it says US Muay Thai Open, PMT. It said, I think it was spring 2023 or something like that. And then it had like checklist of what to bring, checklist of for parents what to bring, what you can expect. If you feel that you've faced an injustice, please come and talk to us, because they also need to understand the culture, and a lot of these people don't. And that's okay.
It's huge.
But understanding that, like, hey, don't go throw a fit to anybody, any single one of the staff at this tournament. Don't go throw a fit to any one of my coaches. You can come have a conversation with me. And if you feel there was an injustice, I will advocate for you fully. Having like frequently asked questions, so it's like a, little booklet. So I do one of those for every tournament, and every time it's always different. So I have to go in and kind of make little edits. But once you have that, and you're able to provide that, like, okay, here's a handout. I have a list of everybody who got it. I checked off everybody got this. Now you're responsible for understanding what's in here. I'm trying to take stress off of your plate, but you also have some responsibilities along the way. And if you can meet me halfway, I promise you this will be a beautiful thing, kind of thing. So it started with that, providing them information. And then, managing the 12 fighters was pretty stressful. And that's kind of when I started taking their medicals. And maybe this isn't legal or good OSHA practice or whatever, but I'm not a medical doctor or any of that shit. And I don't really care what their medicals say anyways, as long as everything looks good. And because I know what you guys are looking for when I go to the tournament, this needs to be signed by an MD. Shit, it wasn't. Well, now you're not fighting, so I need to make sure that gets signed by an MD. I need to make sure that this blood work box is ticked. I need to make sure that, you did the proper blood work, like making sure that everything is put together, and then I'll hold it onto it for you. And then when we get to weigh-ins, here you go. You didn't have to worry about, I forgot this in my car, which actually happened. And it happened at USMTO. The mom had a copy of it. She left it in her other car. I also had a copy of it. And she was like, oh my God, I left it in my other car. And I was like, perfect. Here you go.
Wow.
So I guess in that way, just being organized, but it has to come from a place of wanting to do it and a reason why. Because if you're just a dick to be a dick, then that's not going to get you anywhere. And you don't get the love or respect that we have within our gym.
Yeah.
What's one of the biggest mistakes you've made so far in this? Everything sounds so packaged. There's got to be something.
I make all the mistakes in the world, and I learn every day. And I'm the first person to admit when I do make a mistake, and I don't have a problem announcing it publicly when I do make that mistake. And maybe that's a mistake, but I'm a human, and
I don't think that's a mistake.
I think
I
that's
don't think that's a mistake.
strength.
I think that's an amazing quality.
In that same vein, then, while we're talking about, some of the downsides of this or mistakes or whatever, were there any moments where you guys doubted your team's ability to achieve this goal and be at the top?
And it's not even like a jerk thing to say, and literally this is why we don't do this. So you'll see teams put like 2 of their kids in the same bracket all the time. And every time we look at that and we're like, why? Like you're setting them up for failure. And if you have a team of 20 something and you've got half of them going into the same brackets, then what are the odds that you're even going to place, right? If that's the goal, if you want to place, but half of your team is in a double bracket, well, only half of those guys are going to make it. So now you're only giving yourself a 25% win ratio, right? If you think about it. So anyways, when we go into these registrations, we go in thinking like our kid's gonna win. This girl, this guy, this kid, whoever it is, they're gonna go out there and they're gonna win. So that's fully. And I guess to answer your question, Ryan, it's my biggest mistake maybe is that, like, putting so much effort and belief into people. I haven't seen it not pay off, but I do see where other coaches that have been in this for 20, 30 years kind of get jaded from that. Because you get hurt, because we are so passionate and because we do fully believe in it. You say you want to do this, like, here it is, like, we're doing it. So I haven't felt that yet. And maybe that's something years down the line that happens. I don't really know, but as of right now, I don't feel like we've made too many devastating mistakes. Everything's kind of a live and learn kind of thing.
So you're saying you didn't doubt anything at all to date, and let that be a lesson for everybody watching, because belief is exactly that. Where you've believed in your team, it's transpired to them, right? They now have that conviction, and everybody knows it's a group effort to go in there. And we say, like, we're supposed to set expectations for people so that they can live up to them, right? And that seems like that's a lot of what you're doing. So I don't think you're making a lot of mistakes from what I can hear. It's pretty awesome what you're doing.
Everybody on the last weekend literally met our expectations. Even the ones that didn't win, they literally, I think all the losses we had were split decisions, and everybody fought to like the last bell. And so everybody was like taking pictures afterwards, and man, it just messed me up, man. It, like, just to see like the whole team there, and I was like, just hold it in, just wait till everybody leaves. There's too many people here, and I just couldn't.
And I'm like, get your shit together. We got to take pictures.
And I just I just broke down completely because of that. Like, everybody was so ready to like just die on their sword, like, whether they were losing and they knew they were losing, like, there was just no quit. And just to see that's their fire, like, to represent the gym and myself and just everybody. It was but we believe in them 100%, and I think that's where it comes from, and you could see it when they're fighting, that they know that we believe in them at 100%, or else they wouldn't fight the way that they fight, and so it was, to me, like, this last tournament was super emotional for me, and just eye-opening that we're doing the right things and keep pushing these guys that way, and just believe in them for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Susie and Danny, sorry, Thiago.
Go for it.
When you look at winning anything, winning teams, winning businesses, winning families, right? They all have one thing in common, and that's strong leadership. Tell me about your leadership styles and what seems to work for you.
So we're all very, very, very different. And I think that's why it works so well, like, I'm very, like, we have a lot of athletes, but I do my absolute best to try to get to know all of those guys and girls individually, like, not in a personal level, but just have these conversations with them very frequently, just to really understand them, like, inside and out, and understand how I can push them. Because I'm not a very like I'm not a drill sergeant. Like if you don't want to run, I'm only gonna tell you to run once. Like after that, like you have to do it like on your own. Like if this is what it takes, I'm gonna lay everything down for you, what it takes to get to where you want to get. And if you're not doing it on your own will, then then it's gonna show in the fight. And so my style is very just, work around them, try to mold them on their strengths and try to understand them inside and outside of the ring and figure out how I can push them. And Susie and Coach Sean are a lot different. They're a lot stronger on the team and a lot harder on them, and
but it's also different
that they're really pushing them hard. But I think having that full circle works out really, really well.
It's different in that sense because Danny's been there and done that. So he's like, I'm not going to tell you what to do because I know what it takes to get here, and you have to be self-motivated. And so I can understand his perspective, but for me, I'm like, they didn't go run. They I literally one of our kids, I told him I was like, you've missed 3 practices, and that's the max you can miss in a fight camp. And you're really teetering that line. I'm going to pull you, and I don't care if you paid for this tournament or not. Like I don't do the BS. I am kind of a jerk in that way. But really, it's to protect them against themselves. Like you want to view your opponent as the biggest monster you've ever seen. Like this guy's training 7 days a week, 5 times a day, like lifts 400 pounds on a bench press. Like that's how you want to see them. Right. And I never got to the level even close to what Danny's at. Like I have 3 amateur fights ever. And so I didn't get anywhere near that. But I played team sports, and I appreciate high level athletes. And so for me, I'm like, I have this expectation. And so when they don't meet it, I don't have a problem sitting them down and telling them, look, you're not doing A, B, and C, and that's not going to work out. And maybe Danny will kind of have a different opinion or perspective. But for me, it's not looking good going into this tournament. If you don't get your shit together, we're pulling you.
Yep.
So that's kind of, we have different relationships and different conversations with everybody. And I think that's kind of where like it falls into line. But I also have a sweet and a soft side where like, if they're hurt, they don't go talk to Danny about that. They come and talk to me about it. They're like, Susie, I have a blister on my toe. And I'm like, shit, I didn't know I needed a freaking nursing degree to own a gym.
And she's over there taping it. And I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Go hit the bag, bro. Like, what are you doing? So like mine just, I'm pretty leveled, and I'm not going to force you to do anything. I expect you to do that, but I also don't really want to hear too many excuses,
And Sean's more militant because that's his background. He's a Marine. He's a veteran. And so he's very militant. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like you have a great synergy and you complement each other well.
Yeah.
Where there's deficit, you guys, kind of fill all those gaps. And it's kind of amazing to listen to. I'm not really, there it is right there.
Yeah, I just had to kind of show this because
you just had to do that, huh, Brandon?
Well,
had to show them how bad they beat my ass.
No.
Hey, look, guys. Like, this is what we do this for, right? Is because this is, look at the numbers here.
Amazing.
Out of how many athletes competing you guys had again? Total?
We had
20.
And
all
look
20
at
are
the
on there.
medal. All 20
champions.
medals.
All 20 of them are on there.
That is
unbelievable.
I mean, I just can't say how awesome that is. And
Thank you,
for all the other clubs too, obviously, Citan does incredibly well, a lot of tournaments, and
He knocked me off my first place, man. I had to listen to I gotta hear the secrets, you know what I mean?
I mean, for us, we hear, what, I'm going to say something right now. All right. For everybody, as we grew this tournament, if you had to hear how many times they're like, it's rigged for Tiago's gym, blah, 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 like, it's funny, but
I heard it quite a bit.
we're unique in a lot of ways, right? Because we have a separate sanctioning from the separate promotion. We are not in any way connected. we, they're hired to sanction and by the state, and then we handle putting on the show, and so that's, thank God we're not in the parking lot anymore, right? Because that's how this grows, and you guys heard about the parking lot. We didn't want that to happen, but we made the best out of it. What it was, we put down some, grassy knolls, and what did we do out there? We put chairs, and we did what we could, made sure it was in the shade, and we try to cover, make it at least reputable. But anyway, here, just seeing all the top, you got Saxon, you got Zayaveth, you got Mango Tree. I mean, the De La Soul, even,
Your Heart, Elite. I mean,
Your Heart, Elite,
wild talent that's on this board, and some of the top coaches, and the fact that, and that you guys have done this in such a short time, and just I'm really glad we've captured this today too, because this is education, like you were saying. That's what people need, and it's funny because we talk internally and nobody watching would ever know how much of what you've just said, what we talk about internally, and how to empower the camps with education, and how to give them checklists and things that they'll use. And we know that we'll still get, I couldn't find it on the website, even though everything's on the website, and
still happens.
You're still gonna have that. But you guys have done just an incredible job. And I did want to show this comment came in. I'm not sure the name of this person, but they love everyone, you guys. So but good job on that. And I just wanted to share those numbers with everybody, because that is unheard of. 20 out of 20 medals. We are one of the largest tournaments in the country, and it's just such a cool thing. So
it really is. Thank you.
Final thoughts for up and coming gym owners like Ahmad and Destry?
They're killing it, man.
He was like, man, I gotta get up there with Danny. And
he messaged me. He registered, I think, like 10 athletes already. And
he's trying to get up there with me. Like, I'm getting it. So I like this. It's a good,
for sure.
It's healthy competition, and how the hell else are we supposed to do?
That's how we improve. I joke about not being first and whatnot. There's no ill feelings about that, and honestly, I'm for a team to take me off my spot, I have no shame in losing to you guys. You guys are an amazing team, and we have a lot of respect for you and the way you guys run your team. Me as a gym owner, not just as a promoter, but as a gym owner as well. You guys just performed really well, and this is. You deserve your moment in the sun, your shine, because you did work hard. You did, do all the extra things to get your athletes to the top. So my last, if you guys what do you have to say as far as, maybe some final thoughts for some up and coming gym owners that, are kind of looking to get up there as well?
I think the biggest thing is
nothing. That's our spot. I'm just
the biggest thing is
stay out of our anything, Danny.
I'm gatekeeping.
I would say just education, man.
That's when you disconnect the microphone right there.
You've said too much.
I'm done with this one. Just education, man. Honestly, like I think when we did the first tournament, or the first like technical Thai boxing that we did, like the first technical Thai boxing that we did, we got our ass handed to us. We took 7 people and we lost like all 7 fights.
No, we won 1.
Oh,
barely.
Barely. But after that happened, I was just so upset. I was just furious. I was like, I don't fucking like losing at anything, like just nothing, And so I was on the way to go, like, I just wanted to know why we lost to Robert. Like, well, I don't think we lost this, and I don't think we lost this. And before I got there, I was just like, we're so new that maybe I am doing something wrong, maybe I don't know as much as I think I do. So
having that humility.
Exactly. And then so I went up to Robert and I was like, we lost these matches and I just don't understand why. And if you can just explain it to me so I can learn
To be a better coach.
to be a better coach, because that's why I'm upset. I'm upset because we lost, but it's mine. It's my fault. Like, they weren't prepared or they didn't know what to expect. So instead of going and like bashing Robert, like, this was bullshit, we won these, and obviously some I thought we won, but then he like kind of sat down. He was like, yeah, of course I'll explain this to you. Like, this is why, and I ended up changing my whole kids program because of just those little things that he explained to me. But it was just the education from it, and I was doing too many games and I was doing this, and I just changed my whole kids program to that. And I think I took that to when we did the first USMTO and just kind of saw what they were looking for and what you guys were looking for in these matches. And we got back and sat down together and was like, we just need more education. We need to
Amazing.
make sure all of our coaches are certified refs, judges. That way,
Every
everybody-
single coach and staff member is certified judge and ref, and they're not active. We're not out here, because the Muay Thai scene out here isn't super crazy active in Vegas
Yet.
yet. Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the point was to give that education even to our coaches and thus, to our athletes, right? So
So they know the game, right? If you
Yes,
know the
even-
rules,
even
you know
our
what to
assistant
score.
coaches, like are certified judges. So even when they're looking at the kid, like, just do a simple drill. Even if the kid doesn't plan on competing, he's doing stuff by the rules and exactly how he should do it, and doing the drills like it's a competition, and it's being watched from a full circle. So I think, if anything, just education and make sure that you're really teaching Muay Thai, and
I also want to say really quickly, I think that how do I say this in a nice way?
you don't.
You don't. You just say
Don't
it.
say it nicely. Just say it the way it's in your chest.
Well, number one, we are strictly like Muay Thai school. So we don't do jiu-jitsu, judo, karate, like none of that shit. It's Muay Thai only. This is what we do. We live it and breathe it, and we
Every
love it.
single day, yeah.
So that I think is important. But I think knowing that your coaches are credentialed. I'll run back to this really quickly. My first ever time that I competed, I thought, hey, this coach is the best coach in the world. I'd never even seen a Muay Thai fight prior to competing. And then I got my ass handed to me by some Canadian girl. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? And then you start to realize you have to put things into perspective. So do your homework. Is your coach credentialed? What has he done? And you don't have to be a professional fighter to be credentialed, but you should be ring tested. You should know what you're sending these people in there to do. As a coach and as a gym owner, I think that those are important things. And those are actually things that we require from our coaches. You cannot coach at our gym unless you have 10 years experience in Muay Thai and at least 5 amateur fights. Those are bare minimum requirements. So I think for something that I can share with people, anybody who's watching this and wants to fight or is fighting, what are your coach's credentials? We're not perfect, but what are they? Do you know? And if you don't, then you should probably look into it. So I think that that's important, who you're learning from. And then I also think it's important that if you are dealing with somebody who is credentialed, are they humble? Yeah. Can they allow you to learn from other people? So many coaches don't do that. They won't host seminars. They won't have guest coaches come in. They don't want to do these things because they want to be like God's gift. And like, I know everything, know all. And that's not a real life thing. First of all, you don't know it all. Second of all, everybody can learn something different from everybody's different coaching and teaching styles. Sure. So this is why we host seminars. It's why we have guest coaches come out, because maybe Danny's been trying to explain this right kick to this kid for friggin' 6 months and he's still not getting it down. Well, maybe Liam Nolan or Damien Alamos comes in and does a 2-hour seminar and this kid goes and he tells him one thing and it clicks for him. And then that fixed his kick for, this last 6 months that we've been working on it. So having a coach that is flexible and isn't the all-knowing mystical creature,
The guru.
Yeah.
I like the gurus.
Yeah.
Those ones kill me.
That is, I think, amazing. I what's funny, because when I listen to you guys speak about what you do, like I see a lot of parallels with the way I run my things as well. and it kind of like shit, like cool. Like I feel like we're kind of kindred in that way. It's like, yep, I check. And I also learned a lot from you two today. And I think this podcast is going to be something that I'm going to recommend to all athletes. I might even just put it on.
It's special in like so many ways, actually.
To all the athletes that have competed or plan on competing, because what the things that you guys have said are critical to success. They're not, optional things. They are critical. That's the only way you are going to succeed, in my opinion. And when I don't want to make this all about me. And that's why I kind of was like, I don't want to talk about it, but I was like, the things that you have said pretty much all the way down to the end, with exception of some variation, but it's all there, right? Like it's the fundamental things are there. The way that you talk to your athletes, the variation of coaching styles, and you allow it, and the humbleness to kind of look back and go, did I fuck this up?
And the intentional, everything is they try to be as intentional as possible.
Right. It's impressive. And so, I just want to say, thank you guys, Danny, Susie, for coming out.
Thank you guys for having us, man.
Thank you for this platform.
Yeah.
Not only this platform, but your tournament, it's molded and given us the opportunity to shine and show off our team, and which we're proud of and we love and adore, and all of those things. So thank you guys for what you've done. Also, I will say that I thought it was super cool, the Combine. I wish that we had more time to be able to participate and listen and learn and do the things.
We'll have it back.
Yeah, it was a soft launch. So it's funny hearing some of what you said, and that's my thoughts is we're just aligned in so many ways on some of that, and that's what the Combine was all about, is sharing knowledge between other people,
learn from other coaches, learn from others, people. And it wasn't a lot of people that showed, but the people that did show definitely got a lot more than they bargained for, which is technically free. True. So whatever they got was more than. But so we're all about that. But I just want to say, thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you guys in March. It's gonna be a fun one.
It's good. I think it's gonna be big.
Maybe it might be then. Maybe. Susie, please.
I'll work on it. If I can get a trainer out here, then I'll give you a definite yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you in a couple months.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
That was awesome. And the reason that was awesome, they shared, a lot of things that, pretty much every coach should be doing. It almost, I'll be honest, like it almost kind of, it's bringing me back to some of my own roots. There's some things that I've kind of forgotten to do with my own team. And I'm like, damn, that's right. I used to do that too, but kind of haven't, And that's, and it shows. This is really like kind of cool experience to listen to, how they coach, how the synergy of their team, their, I even, the fact that she was like, I have strict requirements for my coaching staff. My coaching staff has to have won the US Open to be a coach at my gym. Not fought in it, won it. And I was like, yep, that's also a check. It's like they are doing everything that, and I'll bet you what, those top 5 gyms, top 10 gyms, I'll bet you if we interview every single one of them, we're going to hear parallels.
It'll be a broken record.
It'll sound almost exactly like what they said.
Yeah, the organization blows me away a little bit when we hear some consistency in that, and like just as far as the paperwork, and having the medicals, and even hearing that there's question of where you're what's legal and what isn't. Like if you can even look at someone's medical paperwork and just
you're not a health
right, but just the thought that goes through that process,
that's a thought, right?
Like, is that, am I even allowed to do this? Because we're all worried about HIPAA and all these things. Obviously, if you're in medical, that's when you have to worry about HIPAA if you're practicing, in medicine. But just interesting across the board as far as the organization, the paperwork, the making sure the team is, obviously, registered properly, putting their right bouts on, and what they've, done as far as other, competitions and things. And
they've literally covered every base. And I think it sounds as like every time they've caught a mistake, they created a new
fix it.
policy.
Mm-hmm.
They created a new policy. You know what? I didn't understand the coaching. Guess what? Everybody now is going to learn from the sanctioning body himself how to, I didn't understand the scoring. So now we are all going to learn how the scoring goes. We're all going to get certified to be a judge and referee. Well, found out that, my book, one of the athletes missed his paperwork for the fight. Guess what? New policy. Susie's going to get all the paperwork before this date. This is the deadline. I was, they're very impressive.
She's given a master class on what a team manager, like if there's such a concept.
That is the master class right there. I feel like this podcast needs to be sent out to every new registrant that signs up for our US Open. Actually,
you actually heard her background in team sports as well.
Correct.
Seemed like that had an influence, in understanding how organized you actually need to be so that your team wins as a team,
Right.
So it's not one athlete over one athlete. It's actually each athlete, but also on the team scale. So
that's great leadership. I'll be honest, it's fantastic.
What impresses me the most is like, he's talking about the story of the garage, right? I love that concept, the garage, right? And moving it from the garage to the 1,200 square foot facility. And, they started with just them, right? And just passion and a dream. And then they figured it out along the way. But
and the BBL had
sounds like our story.
The
Sounds
BBL
like
went to the wall too. So
right. But what they did was along the way, they gathered their nuts along the way. They figured it out. They educated themselves. They had quickly identified, what their strengths were and the things that they needed to work on. And they went out and they found that information and they put it into practice. And in just a few years, they've created something pretty special, So it goes to show you that, if you can do that, and Humble came out a lot during this conference. So
you don't need a lot of money to start a gym. You don't need a lot of, fancy frills. Start in the garage, build your team, build those people, and they start to actually grow. And, we started Siam on a shoestring budget, and it was, almost on nothing. And we built that as well. A lot of passion, hard work, effort went into it, injured backs, injured knees, elbows, like it's, and you got to get through it with just sheer grit sometimes. It doesn't need to have tons of money to start. I think sometimes if you're passionate enough, people will kind of follow you through that desert, and because they believe in your message and they believe in what you believe.
That's leading from the front by definition. They're leading from the front. Their heart shows, and their determination shows, and it's convicting. I think that was my favorite thing, is how contagious real conviction can be when you believe in yourself, you believe in your people, you believe in what you guys are doing, and then the whole team, that energy that comes from that is exciting.
Guys, well, that was a great one. I learned a lot, probably a lot that I've learned in the podcast. I always learn in these podcasts. It's kind of why I like these things. It's a little more selfish, but
it's for us. I mean, we're glad you all are watching, but it's for us.
But it's this one was a lot of learning. And a lot of it kind of like understanding that I think we're doing the right thing here, and I think people are very happy with that US Open. I can't wait for March, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm excited to grow on the combine too after that
Yeah.
discussion, because it seems like that some of those things we've been talking about internally are also being resonated by top teams. And
Right.
so that is, to me, very, very good market data for what
Sure.
we're actually doing, which is validated also. So
Alrighty, well, thank you guys for joining us. This is our 32nd episode. Join us next week. I don't know. I don't think we have anybody scheduled for next week, but you know, if you're interested, I'm always open to a new participant. If you got something to teach us, that's what I'm looking for.
or
Right.
something that's grinding your Muay Thai gears. Well,
That's my
let's
favorite.
talk about it.
Those are always my favorite. Thank you guys for joining us. We will see you next week.